I drive my bus in a busy city. That's why road safety is so important to me. I know that I must slow down and be extra careful when I make a wide turn. Buses need more room than cars. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're driving, remember to give buses plenty of time and space to finish turning before driving ahead. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
And away we go, episode 1322 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, May 11th, 2026. Luck, L-U-C-K, luck. Luck is a funny thing. Luck is a four-letter word that often compels us to say another four-letter word for which the final three letters are U-C-K. Luck can be good, but luck can be bad. The NBA team of Washington, D.C., the Washington Wizards, that team in its history had mostly terrible luck in NBA draft lotteries. The NBA draft lottery started in 1985. The Washington Bullets / Washington Wizards had participated in the NBA draft lottery 25 times. The team over those 25 NBA draft lottery opportunities had received a pick better than the team's pre-lottery position just 3 times and had received a pick worse than the team's pre-lottery position 11 times. The Bullets / Wizards had won an NBA draft lottery twice, 2001 and 2010. The Wizards, with the number 1 overall pick in the 2001 NBA draft, took Kwame Brown. The Wizards, with the number 1 overall pick in the 2010 NBA draft, took John Wall. The Wizards off going an NBA worst 17-65 in the 2025-2026 regular season. In season number 3 of their tank, had the following odds in the 2026 NBA draft lottery. Number 1 pick, 14%. Number 2 pick, 13.4%. Number 3 pick, 12.7%. Number 4 pick, 12%. Number 5 pick, 47.9%. The Wizards winning the 2026 NBA draft lottery for many reasons was unlikely. Well, we on Sunday afternoon, beginning at 3, had the reveal of the results of the 2026 NBA draft lottery. The event took place at the McCormick Place Convention Center in Chicago. Representing our Wizards was John Wall, and the man known as the Wall Star came through. The luck, amazingly, improbably turned for our Wizards. Mark A. Tatum is the NBA's Deputy Commissioner and Chief Operating Officer. This was Tatum on Sunday afternoon with the reveal of the teams with the top 4 picks in the 2026 NBA Draft.
The 4th pick in the NBA Draft goes to the Chicago Bulls. The 3rd pick will be made by the Memphis Grizzlies. Picking 2nd will be the Utah Jazz, and that means that the number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA Draft goes to the Washington Wizards.
And there you go. The Wizards, our Wizards, they off years of getting done dirty by the NBA draft lottery. The Wizards, our Wizards, off a 3-season tank, won the lottery for the 2026 NBA draft, which is perceived to be a great draft. Now, personally, I think that the Wizards should and will take A.J. Debonsa out of BYU, but we will have plenty of time to explore what the Wizards should do with that number 1 overall pick. On Tuesday's show, episode 1323, I'm going to have a special guest to discuss what the Wizards should do with that number 1 overall pick and much more. For now, I want to appreciate 3 things. A, that the Wizards NBA draft lottery luck turned. B, that the Wizards tank is working. For all of those who have been against the tank and or have argued against the tank and or have complained about how blatant the team has been in its tank, well, the tank is working. Now note, I did not say that the tank has worked. I said that the tank is working, is in the process of working. And C, and this is tied to B, but C, I have not felt this optimistic about the Wizards in years, probably since at least the team made Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semis in the 2017 NBA playoffs. And the optimism is rooted in believing in the two people running Wizards basketball operations. I'm talking about Monumental Basketball President Michael Winger and Wizards General Manager Will Dawkins. Winger and Dawkins, the approach that they are taking, the asset management that they are displaying. When's the last time that you felt this good about the people in charge of Bullet/Wizards basketball operations? Michael Winger did a session with reporters on Sunday afternoon. We, during that session, had this exchange.
Because you talked about like the fans having to go through a little bit of losing and stuff to get to this point. Is it almost like validation in the sense that you got this pick now, whereas there were other teams in that top four that fell and you guys did not?
Like, is it validation? That word didn't cross my mind. It is certainly rewarding to know that the work that we put in and the risks that we took to have an opportunity to draft high over a period of years could potentially be rewarded with this pick. But ultimately, we still have to draft the right player. We still have to raise that player. And we say a lot internally, like, we still have to go out and play the games. And so I think our validation, our rewards will come years down the line when we see if we're putting together the right group of guys and building the organization the right way.
Such a good answer right there from Michael Winger. You know, you look at the Wizards. They have two established stars in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. And yes, we'll see if Davis sticks around. But even if he doesn't, the Wizards have a nucleus of 6 promising young players in Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, and Will Riley. And the Wizards now have the number 1 overall pick in the perceived to be loaded 2026 NBA Draft, which will take place on June 23rd and June 24th at Brooklyn's Barclays Center. We will be doing a lot of Wizards talk on this podcast in the lead up to the draft and beyond. As never forget, this is the podcast that follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. But enjoy this. Revel in this. If you are like me and have been a Washington Bullets/Washington Wizards fan your entire time as a sports fan, Sunday was a special day. Sunday, of course, was Mother's Day. We hope that each of the moms listening had a great Mother's Day. And the Wizards, they had the mother of all Mother's Days. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. This also is a podcast on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. And the Washington Commanders, over Friday through Sunday, conducted their 2026 rookie minicamp. And coming up on the show, in-depth conversation about the team, including key comments from head coach Dan Quinn during a press conference on Friday afternoon. Next segment, we'll discuss Washington's defense, including linebacker Sonny Styles standing out, the potential for Styles to be the team's green dot guy, what Dan Quinn very notably emphasized about defensive coordinator Daronte Jones, and what the team could have in edge defender Joshua Josephs. The following segment will discuss Washington's offense and Washington's special teams, including Dan Quinn officially declaring a competition at kicker and potentially declaring a competition at center, what Quinn and receiver Antonio Williams himself feel about him as a slot receiver versus him as an outside receiver, the team having not just one but 2 notable rookie running backs in Kaytron Allen and Robert Henry Jr., and observation from Quinn on offensive coordinator David Blough. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. Each team over the weekend lost a 3-game series. So the Nats, they over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games at the Miami Marlins. The O's, they over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the Athletics at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. And if you on Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a 5-star rating. I on the podcast will read whatever you write in writing a review of the podcast, and what you write can be a sports take. In other words, you don't just have to write about the podcast. From Downtown Clay Brown on Apple Podcasts writes, Downtown Clay Brown, hey Al, been a fan since the 980 days and always appreciate your analysis and insight on all sports in the DMV, or should I say National Capital Region for us old heads. I've lived in LA for 12 years now, and your podcast gives me the daily dose of DC sports coverage I need. Indeed. Thanks for all you do. Al Galdi for president. Thank you very much for that, downtown Clay Brown. Trust me, you do not want me as president. Although, maybe I should draw inspiration from one of the people running for mayor for your city, Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt of the all-time great television show, The Hills. I have to admit, I am someone who watched The Hills back in the day. I cannot tell you how wild it is that Spencer Pratt from The Hills is running for mayor of L.A. Hopefully, Justin Bobby will one day run for office. From District Sports Talk on X off former Washington quarterback Taylor Heineke on Instagram this past Thursday evening announcing his retirement, writes District Sports Talk. Pretty crazy how you had the Heineke soundbite on Thursday's pod, and he announced his retirement later that day. Thank you for that, District Sports Talk. Yeah, that is odd. On Thursday's show, episode 1320, happened to play the great drop of edge defender Chase Young during his terrific 2020 rookie season for Washington, singing Heineke while mic'd up by NFL Films.
Let's get it there, Heineke! Heineke!
Yeah, that was it. And then later that day, Taylor Heineke on Instagram announced his retirement, although, as I said on Friday's show, episode 1321, if you are a regular listener of this podcast, Heineke announcing this was not surprising. Scott Jackson, co-host of the official Commanders postgame show on the Washington Commanders radio network, he in late December on episode 1227 of this podcast told us that Heineke was retiring, but Heineke now is officially retiring. I on Friday spent some time doing some research on our guy Tay. Not that judging quarterbacks on their win-loss records is a good way of judging quarterbacks, but let's have some fun. There since the end of the Redskins' glory days of the 1982 through 1992 seasons are just 5 quarterbacks who, with Washington, have a winning record over at least 10 regular season starts. Brad Johnson, 17-10. Tony Banks, 8-6, Alex Smith, 11-5, Taylor Heineke, 12-11-1, and Jaden Daniels, 14-10. Johnson, Banks, Smith, Heineke, Daniels. That is quite the list, man. Taylor Heineke entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent out of Old Dominion via signing with the Minnesota Vikings in May 2015. Was with Washington from December 2020 to March 2023. A 12-11-1 regular season record as a starting quarterback for Washington. Even though his most famous game was a playoff loss for Washington, right? His tremendous performance in the 31-23 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at FedEx Field in the wild card round in January 2021. By the way, how about Heineke ending that Instagram post with, quote, "and always go Skins," end quote. A, he did make it a point to highlight himself as a Washington player despite having been with a bunch of other teams. B, he called the team the Skins, even though he never played for the team when it was the Skins. He was only with the team when it was the Washington football team and then Washington Commanders. Again, December 2020 to March 2023, and yet he referred to the team as the Skins. There is no other team in sports with a brand saga like this team. Like, with what other team would you ever hear or see a player who played for the team refer to the team by a name that the team had prior to the player playing for the team? You would never hear or see that with another NFL team or any MLB, NBA, or NHL team, and yet we just had that with Taylor Heineke and Washington. I mean, think about what he did. He is a retiring player who played for the team, referred to the team by a name that the team had prior to him playing for the team. That would be like Ryan Zimmerman, one of the best position players in Washington Nationals history, when he retired, saying, "and always go Expos." You know, like, that would never happen. Zimmerman would never do that, and yet Heineke did that in this instance. When else have you ever heard or seen that? When else have we ever had that? There just has never been, and almost certainly never will be, a brand saga in sports like the one with our team. Dan Quinn, during his press conference on Friday afternoon, actually got asked about Taylor Heinicke announcing his retirement. But during the presser, had this back and forth.
We have not. Yep.
But obviously, you got so much to Washington area and anything you have to say about this?
I can remember remarking to him after a game. It might have even been at Carolina. I just spoke to the competitor, of who he is and what he stands for. And so I can remember him as, a first-time player coming up and competing against him. I said, man, you hang in there. Like, you got a lot to offer. And, like, he for damn sure did. And so I think it's kind of one of my favorite parts of the NFL because of, like, the competitive nature of people going for it. And I think he really represented that.
Yes, he did. All the best to Taylor Heinicke. And speaking of going for it, I just got new shorts from Quinn's, sand dune colored cotton chino drawstring shorts. They are outstanding, extremely comfortable, and yet nice enough to wear out to eat or to a family gathering. Ordering the shorts took minutes, and I right away was able to figure out the right size. Quince makes ordering clothes easy, look good, and feel good with Quince. Quince has all of your wardrobe staples for spring. Think 100% European linen shorts and shirts from just $34. Everything is priced at 50 to 80% less than what you'd find with similar brands. How? Well, Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything is designed to last and make getting dressed easy. Refresh your everyday with luxury that you'll actually use. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack, but people don't understand when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
2026 Washington Commanders rookie minicamp took place this past Friday through Sunday. Took place at the team facility, what officially is Big Bear.ai Performance Center at Commanders Park in Ashburn, Virginia. Washington this past Friday morning announced having signed all 6 of the players who the team took in the 2026 NFL Draft. Round 1, the number 7 overall pick, Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles. Round 3, the number 71 overall pick, Clemson receiver Antonio Williams. Round 5, the number 147 overall pick, Tennessee edge defender Joshua Josephs. Round 6, the number 187 overall pick, Penn State running back Kaytron Allen. Round 6, the number 209 overall pick, Michigan State center/guard Matt Golbin. And round 7, the number 223 overall pick, Rutgers quarterback Ethan Kaliak-Manis. So also, Washington this past Thursday night announced having signed 9 players as undrafted free agents. LSU receiver Chris Hilton Jr., UNLV receiver Jaden Bradley, Washington tight end Quentin Moore, UTSA running back Robert Henry Jr., Utah guard Tanoa Togiai, SMU interior defensive lineman Jeffrey Emba, Northwestern cornerback Fred Davis II, Michigan State safety Malik Spencer, and Iowa kicker Drew Stevens. The rookie minicamp included the draft picks, the undrafted free agents, a number of tryout players, and some players who were on Washington's practice squad last season. For instance, receivers Ja'Cory Brooks and Jacoby Jones and cornerback Carlin Viggers participated in the rookie minicamp. And while we're going through some administrative stuff, the NFL, on Friday afternoon, announced that this coming Thursday night is 2026 regular season schedule release night. The league's 2026 regular season schedule will be officially released this Thursday night at 8. But as we know, what will happen is that many games will be legally leaked over the course of Thursday morning and afternoon. Also, the NFL on Friday afternoon announced that the league's broadcast partners will announce select games this week prior to Thursday. But this coming Thursday night is 2026 regular season schedule release night. The only day of the rookie minicamp that was open to reporters was Friday. Head coach Dan Quinn did a press conference on Friday afternoon. The presser took place after a walkthrough, but before the full practice, which did not include tackling. This was a non-padded practice, but Quinn during his presser was asked about something related to this coming Thursday night being 2026 regular season schedule release night, the possibility of joint training camp practices for Washington this summer. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange between Candy Waller of Bowie TV Sports and Dan Quinn.
There's conversations, but nothing official until the schedule comes out, because that's where it could change. So what we do oftentimes from combine to the league meeting, say, hey, if it works out where, we have the practice together, would you be interested? So there's definitely some teams that we would like to, if it lines up, to where we're practicing, whether it's here or elsewhere. I like what it can bring. I like the different looks. I like the competitive nature of that. So there's definitely some guys that you want, but until it becomes official with the league, then right when that happens, kind of like, are we in? Yeah, we're good, or no, we're not. And so, but we plan on that. We'll just play it out as it comes.
All right. Remember, Washington last summer had a joint training camp practice that got canceled. The Baltimore Ravens last August 14th announced that a joint training camp practice for the Commanders and Ravens at Washington's team facility had been canceled due to, quote, logistical challenges, end quote. That from a statement from the Ravens. So Washington last August 6th did participate in a joint training camp practice at the New England Patriots. Next segment, we'll talk Washington offense and Washington special teams. This segment, we talk Washington defense. The number one focus during Friday's rookie minicamp practice was Sonny Styles. He, per multiple accounts, was ready to pounce from Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 Washington on Friday afternoon in a post on X, quote, Commanders running 7 versus 7, and there have been some passes over the middle, and you can just see Sonny Styles wanting to lay dudes out, end quote. Commanders insider Ben Standing of Last Man Standing on Substack, he had a piece that came out on Friday evening, quote, there were moments when Styles emerged around the ball so frequently that onlookers perched above the primary practice field might have believed the offensive plan was to let the linebacker make plays, end quote. Of course, we are talking about day one of rookie minicamp, so we're not going too crazy. And of course, Sonny Styles, as the man taken with the number 7 overall pick in an NFL draft, should look good going against the players who made up Washington's rookie minicamp roster. But I am excited about Sonny Styles. I know that many of you are excited about Sonny Styles. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange between ABC 7 sports director Scott Abraham and Dan Quinn.
I'm sure the gears are going in your head with Sonny Styles. How do you envision utilizing him in this defense?
Yeah, I think the first part of it, man, let's get the fundamentals down. The 2 inside linebacker spots have similarities, but there's also some nuances. During the course of the spring and training camp, we'll work him and some other guys at both of the spots. There's a lot that he can do, and like all the players, we're going to try to do the best we can to put them in the spots to really allow them to do their thing, at full speed and at a high level. And a lot of times that takes all the way in through camp as well. So there's no limits on what I think he can become, but I'm going to let the whole process, really play all the way through, because there's a lot to go over.
And Dan Quinn referencing Washington having 2 starting inside linebacker spots is another reason to believe that the team with its new defensive coordinator Daronte Jones will be going with a 3-4 base defense. What about the green dot? Will Sonny Styles, as a rookie, wear the green dot as the on-field play caller for the defense? We on Friday afternoon had this back and forth between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Les Carpenter of The Washington Post and Quinn.
Evaluate defensive players, especially what goes into picking a guy for the green dot. What are the non-negotiables?
Yeah, I think you have to have demonstrated communication skills. It doesn't have to be where you've done it your whole life, like where, okay, that's all I've ever done. Like some kids grew up as a quarterback from 8 years old. It doesn't have to be that, David, but what it does have to be, there has to be confidence. There's got to be belief. It's got to be firm, because that voice is used in a lot of ways. Sometimes to give the call, sometimes it's to also let somebody know this is not how things are going to go. So there's a number of candidates that we have, but that would be at the top of my list, like demonstrated ability to think under pressure.
I was going to say real-time processing.
Real time. And that ability for those players that have that thinking under pressure, and quite often we try to make here at practice as stressful as you can. Is it like the game? It's not. But if we can create as many training scenarios for them, what happens when the green dot doesn't come off? When it doesn't work. There's plenty of times in practice I would just, don't have a call, so they have to feel the stress of okay, you didn't call anything. What am I going to do? You're at your best when they're already finishing the call, you're starting to make a call, through the headset, and before you're done, you see the person turning and starting the conversation. So it takes a while to get to that spot where you can be in concert. But the more you do it, the more connected you become with the play caller, and that helps too.
Can you create that atmosphere here? And it's a 3-day camp with a lot of tryout guys, or does that lack of cohesion make it even better?
I think it's too early to test right now. It's the first go around. Let's just see, communication. Is there urgency that goes with it? But as we get into the full team being together beginning on Monday and then through spring ball, that's really when you can kind of test it. This one is more, let's get the function down and get to those skills before we turn up the heat too high.
Yeah, the rookie minicamp was not some super complicated, super involved minicamp. I tell you, though, you listen to Sonny Styles, he absolutely comes across as someone who, as a rookie, could do well as the green dot guy, to say nothing of him having been the green dot guy for Ohio State. Styles did a post-practice press conference on Friday afternoon. We, during that presser, had these exchanges.
What was that moment like when you went in the locker, saw that jersey for the first time, saw the helmet for the first time? What were those emotions like?
It was good. It felt right. It felt like it was meant to be, so I'm excited.
I want to follow up just on that question there. Obviously, we got draft night, Sonny. You had that moment. When you walked onto that field as a commander for the first time, what were you feeling?
Just grateful to be here. I know there's a lot of work put in to get here, but it's just the beginning. So, like I said, I'm just excited to keep putting work in and keep getting better.
Speaking with the community, so many Commanders fans are so high on you right now. They're ready to root for you. What is your message to this fan base that is so excited to see Sonny?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give everything I got to this team. When I was at Ohio State, I gave everything I had to Ohio State and the university. I took pride in that. I'm going to take pride in being commander and getting everything to this team and do whatever I can by any means necessary to help the team win.
Sonny, what's been your process just to get to learn the defense in this system? What have you been doing to
Yeah, we come in yesterday, meet the team, meet everybody, kind of get settled in. And then today, just going through with the coaches, going through some of the install. It's super basic right now. It's pretty easy to understand for guys right now. So I think they do a great job the way we describe the defense, the way we teach it.
Did you get the playbook after the draft that you've been studying it?
I took a look at it, yeah, but I haven't been able to really meet with the coaches on it. So yesterday, kind of my first time really talking on it. So I'm just glad to be here in the building. So I think Coach DJ does a really good job. Just the way he teaches the defense, it's easy to learn, easy to digest.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's like, I think when I was with Coach Patricia at Ohio State, he was just a great teacher. And I think the same with Coach DJ. He's a great teacher. Coach Norton's a great teacher. I think sometimes some coaches do a really good job the way they articulate the game and articulate the way they're describing the playbook. It's easy for everyone to digest.
When you're doing any kind of tape watching, are you watching these guys from a year ago, or are you watching more like what Daronte's like?
We haven't really watched that much tape. It's our first time really watching tape today. On my own, I watched a little bit of the Viking stuff last year. But we're still learning the playbook. Everyone's learning the playbook at the same time right now. So you can't really look too far ahead.
Does it look like it mapped out, okay, week this, I'm going to start looking more at tape, or week this, I'm going to start prepping more of this, or is it just?
Right now, I'm just, I got the plays that they gave me, and I'm just focused on those right now. Once I start getting more plays, I'm going to make sure I attack it.
So it looked like a couple times today you were so aggressive that you actually had to hold back. on a couple of. Is it like that right now? Do you just feel like you just want to run out and blow everybody up?
Yeah, I mean, you got to learn how to practice. Sometimes you're running up. You got to make sure you slow down. Guys are cutting. They're still trying to avoid you and things like that. So just trying to stay on our feet and be a pro.
Sonny, how did you land on 52?
I'm not really a big number guy. Like, I wasn't really big in the single digits. Like, I like 0. Mikey has 0. So then, like, I was telling Coach Nort, like, when I look in the room, you got, like, London on the wall, London Fletcher, LeVar, I think it was Ken Harvey and Monty Coleman. It was all, like, 50 numbers. And I was like, shoot, I'm going to pick a 50 number. And I was thinking about it. I remember growing up watching, like, Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis. I was like, hey, 52 would be cool. And then my dad was like, hey, 5 + 2 is 7. So that's your draft pick. So I was like, dang, that's cool. That seems pretty cool. So that's really how I landed on it. I didn't have no, like, special number to pick. So I was kind of just picking anything.
Did you check with Mikey at all for 0 or not even?
Nah, he got it.
How much more do you think you can become the more you get used to this position and playing good?
Yeah, I think, the more reps you have at the position, the better you get. This is going to be year 3 for me at linebacker, so I'm excited to keep growing at an exponential rate. I'm excited to get around some great coaching. Like, I had some great coaching in college, about to have great coaching here as well. So I think I'm just going to keep getting better and better.
And we heard what Sonny Styles said about Daronte Jones. That was echoed by Dan Quinn. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange between Barry Svrluga of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
You've had Daronte in the building for a couple months now. But what are you learning about him stylistically, leadership?
I think from a leadership standpoint, I'll start there first. Man, is he organized, like impeccably organized. He's got a very detailed thought and approach to how things go, from the way he meets with the defensive staff to the way he meets, with the players. So I like that approach. Like, there's just, he hits every single step along the way. As a player, you like that because he's thorough. He goes through all the steps. It's not gray. There's a lot of clarity. Even though at times it can seem, complex to what we're doing, there's actually a lot of clarity that goes with it. So that's the part from a leadership standpoint that I've seen so far, like the extreme organization and clarity of the teaching.
So, Dan Quinn emphasizing that Daronte Jones is, quote, impeccably organized, end quote. He has, quote, a very detailed, thorough approach, end quote. Quote, he's thorough. He goes through all the steps. It's not gray. There's a lot of clarity, end quote. Dan Quinn was so effusive in his praise of Daronte Jones in terms of his organization and attention to detail and thoroughness that you had to wonder, I know that I wondered, was the team's defensive coordinator for the last 2 seasons, Joe Witt Jr., not this way? Like Daronte Jones coming off in this manner to Dan Quinn, is that especially the case because it stands out in such contrast to Joe Witt, or was Witt all of these things too, and he was just done dirty by bad personnel? It's hard to say, but wow, Quinn, without hesitation, emphasizing Daronte Jones as being organized and having attention to detail and being thorough. And then also coming up during Dan Quinn's press conference on Friday afternoon was edge defender Joshua Josephs, who Washington took in the 5th round of the draft. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange with Dan Quinn.
Yeah, just in fact got some, the chance to spend some time with him today after our walkthrough to go in, and it's the football knowledge also that goes with it. Josh has been somebody at Tennessee that's been versatile. He can drop, he can rush. That's why he's here to rush. But I'm excited to have that type of length, get off, demonstrated pass rush ability. I found the more of that you have and develop it. We were talking about traits earlier, how important that is. He has that. And we look forward to developing that trait to see if we can take him from this space into the next one.
Well, we shall see how good Washington is in terms of edge defenders, but consider the many viable options the team appears to have at edge defender of what the team has done in free agency and the draft this offseason. Edge defenders on the team include Odafe Owe, Kaytron Chason, Charles Omenihu, Joshua Josephs, Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise Jr., Drake Jackson, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. Hey, if you have a case, contact Chris Nace. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in: you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. More now from 2026 Washington Commanders rookie minicamp, which took place this past Friday through Sunday. Let's talk Washington offense and Washington special teams, and we're tying the two together because of something that head coach Dan Quinn said during his press conference on Friday afternoon. But let's begin with this. We officially have a competition at kicker. Jake Moody versus Drew Stevens, who is an undrafted free agent out of the University of Iowa. Washington, this past Thursday night, in announcing the signings of 9 undrafted free agents, announced the signing of Stevens. He played college football for 4 seasons, all for Iowa, 2022 through 2025. He, over those 4 regular seasons and postseasons, went 76 for 95 on field goals and went 124 for 126 on extra points. He made 80% of his field goal attempts and made 98.41% of his extra point attempts. He has a big leg, set a program record for most made regular season and postseason field goals of at least 50 yards in a career 12. I wanted competition for Jake Moody. We now have competition for Jake Moody, but Jake Moody still is the favorite to be Washington's kicker in Week 1 of the NFL's 2026 regular season. Washington, this past March, did non-tender Moody. He had been set to be a restricted free agent this offseason, but Washington on March 12th announced having re-signed Moody as an unrestricted free agent. He, over 6 games with Washington in the 2025 regular season, did well. 10 for 11 on field goals, 10 for 11 on extra points. He went 2 for 2 on field goal attempts of at least 50 yards and went 2 for 2 on field goal attempts between 40 and 49 yards. So Washington this past November 18th announced having signed Moody off the Chicago Bears practice squad. As you may recall, Washington signed the guy a little more than a month after he walked off Washington. A little more than a month after he connected on a walk-off 38-yard field goal in Washington's 25-24 walk-off loss to the Bears at a rainy Northwest Stadium on Monday Night Football on October 13th. Jake Moody is connected to Adam Peters. Moody was taken by the San Francisco 49ers in the 3rd round of the 2023 NFL Draft out of the University of Michigan. Washington general manager Adam Peters was the Niners' assistant GM when they drafted Moody. We, during Dan Quinn's press conference on Friday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
You brought in Drew Stevens. What's kind of your plan there? That you expecting a full competition?
Yes. Yep. At a number of spots. It's one of the things I love, just promoting that type of competition and what we'll do. And so there'll be a number of positions that we'll talk about, in the months ahead of where those competitions will be. I honestly feel like that's how we get the best out of one another. Those competitions at positions, different styles and roles, that's how it all kind of comes together. And so whether we're talking about kicker or center or different spots along the way, we just keep battling for it and we'll see it all the way through.
Okay, so Dan Quinn officially declaring a kicking competition, but did you notice what Quinn said toward the end of that cut? Quote, "And so, whether we're talking about kicker or center or different spots along the way, we just keep battling for it and we will see it all the way through." End quote. Dan Quinn, unsolicited, brought up there being a competition at center, or there at least potentially being a competition at center. Not that this is earth-shattering, okay, but that is notable that Quinn did that. Nick Allegretti certainly seems to have the inside track to be the team's number one center, but Washington did take Michigan State center/guard Matt Golban in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL Draft. He played college football for 5 seasons, played for Wake Forest for the 2021 through 2024 seasons, played for Michigan State for the 2025 season. Golban, in his collegiate career, made a combined 34 regular season and postseason starts. He, for Wake, started 11 games at left guard, 11 games at right guard, and 1 game at center. He, for Michigan State, started 11 games at center. And Golban is coming off a really nice 2025 season. He, for the 2025 regular season, registered the following grades per Pro Football Focus. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. Overall grade of 82.6. Pass blocking grade of 87.8. Run blocking grade of 81.9. Now, there is another option for Washington at center. Julian Good-Jones. He was acquired by Washington via it signing him off the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad in November 2023. He has been cut by Washington multiple times, but has stuck around. But Julian Good-Jones in his NFL career has played in 1 regular season game. That was the 2023 regular season finale in January 2024, a 38-10 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at FedEx Field, January 7th, 2024. That was Washington's final game before taking quarterback Jayden Daniels with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft out of LSU. And speaking of Jayden Daniels, a big-time addition to his receiving core in receiver Antonio Williams, who Washington took in the 3rd round of the 2026 NFL Draft out of Clemson. Williams played college football for 4 seasons, all for Clemson, 2022 through 2025. He in his collegiate career played extensively as both a slot receiver and a wide receiver. We, on this past Friday's show, episode 1321, got great insight on Williams from NFL analyst Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports and Yahoo Fantasy. Matt Harmon, the creator of the innovative reception perception methodology for receiver evaluation. He said that Williams is slot mostly, but not slot only. I liked how Matt Harmon put that. Antonio Williams is slot mostly, but not slot only. Williams did a post-practice press conference on Friday afternoon. We, during that presser, had this exchange between ABC 7 sports director Scott Abraham and Williams.
Antonio, I know in Clemson you played outside, inside a little bit. What do you prefer? What do you like more, and what do you think you fit best inside or outside at the NFL level?
I prefer everything. I feel like that's when I'm at my best. Just feel like I'm a versatile player, and I can line up everywhere and run every route. So I just like being able to go everywhere, and I feel like I just have a lot of freedom to do that in this offense.
Well, there in recent seasons have been so few receivers who, as rookies for Washington, were very productive. The only 2 who come to my mind over the last 20 seasons are Terry McLaurin in 2019 and Jamison Crowder in 2015. I mean, you tell me, what other receivers as rookies for Washington were very productive over the last 2 decades other than McLaurin in 2019 and Crowder in 2015. But Antonio Williams absolutely has the potential to be impactful as a rookie. Dan Quinn's press conference on Friday afternoon did mark his first session with reporters since a side session late night on April 23rd, the night of the first round of the draft. We, during Friday afternoon's presser, had this back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
Dan, what we haven't been able to talk to you since the first round of the draft. One of the guys you're bringing in, Antonio Williams. I'm just curious how you see his fit in this offense and the usage for him.
Yep. So, man, what a fit. I would say first off with Antonio, because this is a player that can play multiple spots at receiver. He's got experience outside. He's got experience playing inside in the slot. That type of versatility, John, that goes a big way. And seeing through the last few years, the film from him at Clemson at both spots, demonstrated route running ability, we're really pumped to have him.
Is it any surprise he's wearing number 14 on my Ross St. Brown? Is there a similar style usage for a guy like that?
No, I just picked it. I don't even know why. It was like, yeah, there's no correlation to why. I'm sure he was wanting whatever number, but we'll work all that out later.
Yeah, Washington this past Thursday morning announced jersey numbers for the 6 players who the team took in the 2026 NFL Draft. Among those jersey numbers, the number 14 for Antonio Williams, and another NFL receiver who wears the number 14 is the Detroit Lions' Amon-Ra St. Brown. And as you may recall, it was on episode 1316 that we spoke with Washington Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room on Substack, and he talked about how he views Antonio Williams as being poised to play the same role for Washington that Amon-Ra St. Brown plays for Detroit. Not that Antonio Williams is Amon-Ra St. Brown, okay, but that Williams in the offense of Washington's new offensive coordinator David Blough appears likely to play the same role that St. Brown plays for Detroit. David Blough's final season as an NFL player was spent as a quarterback on Detroit's practice squad, the 2023 season, which was the second of 3 seasons for Ben Johnson as Lions offensive coordinator. And the expectation is that Blough is going with a Ben Johnson-style offense. More on Antonio Williams going with the number 14. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange between Scott Abraham and Williams.
Okay, we've been asking everybody the jersey number 14.
Yes, sir.
Backstory, why'd you land on 1-4 and 14?
1-4, that was my first number ever. So take it back, I got a lot of great memories in this number, and hopefully I can make a lot of more great memories in this number.
Okay, and regarding Amon-Ra St. Brown, it turns out that Antonio Williams does look up to St. Brown. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange between John Keim and Antonio Williams, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Nicky Jhabvala and Williams.
Antonio, what receivers do you kind of like to look at to kind of study and apply to your game?
I think I've said this to my friends and they say I'm biased, but like I was a JSN fan before last year, so I like his game. My all-time favorites are Devontae Adams. I just love his smoothness and ability to track the ball, late hands. And AB is another one of my favorites.
Your route running, what has helped you become pretty polished as a route runner? Is there somebody you work with?
Yeah, I work with a lot of different people. But I think it's just like really trying to perfect your craft and then taking a lot of stuff from other guys and just watching film and learning from them. So I've always been a student of the game and always looking for ways to improve and get better.
Adam Peters, during his press conference on the night on which Washington drafted Antonio Williams, called him, quote, an NFL route runner, end quote. Another offensive player who Washington took in the 2026 NFL Draft is the man known as Fat Man. Washington took Penn State running back Kaytron Allen, Fat Man Allen, in the 6th round of the draft. We on Friday afternoon had this back and forth between Nicky Jhabvala and Dan Quinn.
Kaytron Allen, Fat Man. Do you refer to him as Fat Man?
I do not. Yes, I do not, and I'm hopefully never going to.
What do you like about him in his game?
I like a lot about his game, Nicky. First off, I think as a running back, there's some things that you really look for. First one is vision. You know, in the blocking scheme, sometimes the hole is so small, you know, to know that's the spot, that's the aiming point. Can I make a cut? Can I see a defender that's, you know, further on my backside to go? And that type of knowledge, that type of vision is a big deal. He's got demonstrated power, you know, in the backfield. So there's a lot that I like. I'm really excited to get started with him.
Kaytron Allen, he for the 2025 regular season registered these grades per Pro Football Focus. Overall grade of 89.5, rushing grade of 91.3. Profiles as someone who could be Washington's short yardage run between the tackles back. You look at Washington's current running backs, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Rashad White, Jerome Ford, Jeremy McNichols, Kaytron Allen, and Robert Henry Jr., who is an undrafted free agent out of UTSA, the University of Texas at San Antonio. You can always email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from a very loyal supporter of this podcast, Dr. George Verghese, who operates the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland. Writes Dr. Verghese, Al, can you review the undrafted free agents we signed? Thank you. Thank you for the email, doctor. So our last segment went through the 9 undrafted free agents who Washington this past Thursday night announced as having signed. The one who most stands out is this running back, Robert Henry Jr. A very good friend of this podcast is NFL draft analyst Thor Nystrom of Thor's NFL Draft Substack and Score North. He, on episode 1312, gave us an outstanding deep dive on what Washington did in the 2026 NFL Draft. But Thor last Tuesday night texted me about Robert Henry. Thor thinks that Henry has a chance to be a factor for Washington. Henry, at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, registered a 40-yard dash time of 4.52 seconds. He's a big play back. He, for UTSA this past regular season, had 6 scrimmage plays, each of at least 70 yards, 5 rushes, and 1 reception. And he and UTSA's 42-24 loss at then number 19 Texas A&M this past August 30th had a terrific game. 16 carries for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. A&M made the college football playoff this past season, and yet Henry ran all over A&M. So going to be interesting to see if Washington has anything in this guy, Robert Henry Jr., undrafted rookie out of UTSA. And then what about David Blough? One of the biggest storylines with this offense is how this guy does as a first-time offensive coordinator. Washington, this past January 10th, announced having promoted Blough from assistant quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator. He's just 30, youngest person to be hired as Washington offensive coordinator since the Redskins in January 2014. Announced having promoted 28-year-old tight ends coach Sean McVay to offensive coordinator. We on Friday afternoon had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Dan Quinn.
What have you seen different from David Blough so far?
I think it's fun to see him install the whole thing, in front of the room, an identity of what we'd like to be, of the different teaching. So there's quite a bit of new terminology, for the players that, we're here from 24 and 25. So to see the different things that we're emphasizing and him right in the front of it all, it's been excellent. One of the things I've been impressed by him is his ability and the staff to really function together. Like our receiver group as a coaching staff, I really don't think you could come into a better space than to learn from Bobby and Wes and Andre. Like the amount of experience the three of them have together in the National Football League, it's incredible. And so they're able to share different things, different points of view, vibe off one another. As a coach, that's the type of environment that I'm looking for, to see their vibe together. So that might be just one small example of him listening and also allowing some of the guys to make their imprint on the offense as well.
And Dan Quinn, in saying, quote, Bobby and Wes and Andre, end quote, was referring to receivers coach Bobby Ingram, offensive assistant Wes Welker, and assistant receivers coach / returners coach Andre Coleman. If you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for discussion about the team, especially of what it did in the draft. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. Well, the Washington Nationals on Monday have an off day for a third consecutive Monday. Hopefully they are enjoying this off day, because they then have a stretch of 16 consecutive days with no scheduled off days, May 12th through the 27th. The Nats' next scheduled off day after Monday is Thursday, May 28th. And the Nats, unfortunately, went into this off day with a series loss. So they, over the weekend, lost 2 out of 3 games at the Miami Marlins. Friday night, a 3-2 win at the Marlins in a game in which all of the runs were scored in the first inning. But Saturday, an 8-7 loss at the Marlins in a game in which which the Nats blew a 4-0 fourth-inning lead. This also was a game in which the Nats allowed 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and Sunday afternoon, a 5-2 loss at the Marlins in a game in which the Nats allowed 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 19-22, 13-9 on the road versus 6-13 at home. And we in this series saw the best of the 2026 Nats in terms of the offense doing some good things and the team's 2 best starting pitchers, Foster Griffin and Cade Cavalli, doing well. But we in this series also saw the worst of the 2026 Nats in terms of some bad pitching and some bad defense and some costly outs on the base paths. Specific to the defense, it more and more is a problem. The Nats for this regular season, as of games through Saturday, had the following team defensive rankings, tied for number 24 out of 30 MLB teams in Sports Info Solutions defensive run save -5. Number 25 out of 30 MLB teams in StatCast outs above average -9. And dead last out of 30 MLB teams in fewest errors, 38. And the next worst total was the Tampa Bay Rays, 28. 10 more errors than the next worst total. More on the Nats defense shortly, but the Nats offense in the team losing 2 out of 3 games at the Marlins over the weekend was so-so, even though there was some good stuff. But the 3-2 win at the Marlins on Friday night, the Nats were just good enough offensively. Just 3 runs, just 6 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 4 singles. Just 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did draw 6 walks. The 8-7 loss at the Marlins on Saturday, the Nats were good offensively. 7 runs, 11 hits, which were a home run, a triple, 4 doubles, and 5 singles, 2 walks, 3 for 8 with runners in scoring position. But the Nats made a killer out on the base paths. The Nats, in the top of the 9th, scored 3 runs to cut an 8-4 deficit to 8-7. The Nats in the inning had 2 doubles and 2 singles, but Joey Wiemer, he in pinch running for Luis Garcia Jr. at second base, inexplicably got caught in a rundown between second base and third base and was called out for the second out. And the 5-2 loss at the Marlins on Sunday afternoon, the Nats were not good offensively. Just 2 runs, just 6 hits, although 4 of the hits were extra base hits, as the Nats had a triple, 3 doubles, and 2 singles. And the Nats did have 3 walks, but the Nats went just 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Nats had problems against Marlins starting pitcher Sandy Alcantara. Not the first time that has been said over the years. So he allowed 2 runs in 6 innings. And the Nats in this game had 2 rough outs on the base paths. James Wood, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, went 1 for 4 with a double. Wood in the top of the first had a leadoff opposite field double off the left field warning track, but he in running on contact on a fielder's choice tapper by Brady House to Sandy Alcantara got tagged out in a rundown between third base and home plate for the second out. Also, Nasim Nunez, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 9 batter, went 0 for 1 with 2 walks. Nunez in the top of the third drew a 1-out walk, stole second base, but then was thrown out in his attempt to advance to third base on a pitch that got away from catcher Joe Mack for the second out. Nats manager Blake Butera challenged the call of Nunez being out, but the call was upheld. Now, James Wood on Saturday did finally homer. He was the Nats' number 1 batter for each of the 3 games in the series. The 3-2 win at the Marlins on Friday night. Wood is the Nats starting DH, went 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. The 8-7 loss at the Marlins on Saturday. Wood is the Nats starting right fielder, went 2 for 3 with a solo homer, a double, and a walk. Got credited with an outfield assist, but he and the Nats' 3-run first ended a 13-game homerless drought as he had a leadoff full-count homer to the second deck in right center field for a 1-0 Nats lead, despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The homer went a projected 442 feet per StatCast, was his first home run since hitting a home run in each of 3 consecutive games from April 21st through the 23rd. And the 5-2 loss at the Marlins on Sunday afternoon, Wood is the Nats starting right fielder, went 1 for 4 with a double. James Wood for this regular season now has an OPS of 918, 2 points better than C.J. Abrams at 916. Very mixed series for C.J. Abrams. The 3-2 win at the Marlins on Friday night. Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a walk, but he committed a throwing error in the bottom of the 9th. The 8-7 loss at the Marlins on Saturday. Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 2 for 5 with a triple and a 2-run single, but he committed a throwing error in the Marlins' 1-run 6th. And the 5-2 loss at the Marlins on Sunday afternoon. Abrams, as the Nats starting DH and number 4 batter, went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. A question with C.J. Abrams for a while now, and I know that I've had this question, is he truly a shortstop? because his defense at shortstop isn't very good. And he, to me, more and more comes off as someone who should be playing second base, a less difficult defensive position. Now, you move him to second base, that does lessen his trade value. And if Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, is still looking to potentially trade C.J. Abrams, you don't want to be lessening his trade value. But his defense at shortstop for a while now just has not been very good, was especially bad over the first 2 games of this series. But he offensively is having a good season. I don't want to lose sight of that. Again, Abrams for this regular season has an OPS of 916. Also, welcome back Luis Garcia Jr., a guy who, by the way, used to be a shortstop, then got moved to second base, and now is playing first base. He has slid down the defensive spectrum. But the 8-7 loss at the Marlins on Saturday, Garcia started a game for the first time since missing 3 consecutive games due to right wrist soreness. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run single and 2 other singles. In the 5-2 loss at the Marlins on Sunday afternoon, Garcia, as the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 2 for 4 with a triple and an RBI double. Luis Garcia for this regular season now has an OPS of 655. Nats starting pitchers in the team losing 2 out of 3 games at the Marlins over the weekend were good in 2 of the 3 games. The 3-2 win at the Marlins on Friday night, Foster Griffin was great. He allowed 2 runs, 1 earned in 7 innings with 9 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up just 4 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 2 singles. He threw a lot of strikes, 103 pitches, 74 strikes, just 29 balls. Griffin, in the bottom of the first, allowed 2 runs, only 1 of which was earned. He gave up a leadoff homer by Xavier Edwards to left center field to cut the Nats' lead to 3-1, and then gave up a double by Otto Lopez to left field on an 0-2 pitch. And then first baseman Curtis Mead committed a run-scoring throwing error, so more bad defense. Mead made an errant throw to Griffin at first base off fielding a grounder by Kyle Stowers to cut the Nats' lead to 3-2. All of this happened over the first 3 batters who Griffin faced, but he then tossed 7 scoreless innings. He, per StatCast, threw 7 different types of pitches, had an average four-seam fastball velocity of just 91.8 miles per hour. His stuff is far from elite. He has a variety of pitches, but he's getting really good results. Foster Griffin now in this regular season over 8 games all starts, ERA of 2.12, whip of 1.03. As I've been saying on the Nats Chat podcast, Griffin as of now is a legitimate candidate to make the National League All-Star team for this season. The 8-7 loss at the Marlins on Saturday, the Nats used an opener who was relief pitcher Richard Lovelady, marking the first time in this regular season that someone other than P.J. Poulin was used as an opener by the Nats, but Lovelady did well. He tossed 2 scoreless innings with 3 strikeouts. He tossed a scoreless bottom of the first despite issuing a 2-out walk and giving up a 2-out double, and he tossed a perfect bottom of the second with 2 swinging strikeouts. And then starting pitcher Zach Littell came into the game as the Nats' bulk pitcher. He allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 4 innings, gave up 5 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 2 singles, issued a walk, recorded no strikeouts. He threw 69 pitches, 41 strikes, 28 balls. So also, he committed a fielding error, which came on him botching the fielding of a 1-out tapper by Xavier Edwards in the bottom of the 5th. Littell in the bottom of the 4th gave up a 1-out full count 2-run homer by Kyle Stowers to right field to cut the Nats' lead to 4-2. And Littell in the bottom of the 6th allowed an unearned run via a 1-out throwing error by shortstop C.J. Abrams, who botched the throw off fielding a routine grounder by Connor Norby, who then stole second base and third base and scored on a sacrifice fly. And so the struggles of Zach Littell do continue. He now in this regular season, 8 games, including 5 starts, ERA of 6.94, whip of 1.60, and as amazing as anything, he nearly has as many home runs allowed as he has strikeouts. 14 home runs allowed versus 17 strikeouts. He's giving up homers, and he's not striking guys out. That's a bad combination for a pitcher. In the 5-2 loss at the Marlins on Sunday afternoon, Cade Cavalli was good. He allowed 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings with 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up 4 hits, all of which were singles. He did issue 3 hit-by-pitches. He threw 95 pitches, 58 strikes, 37 balls, and he did what he did despite being plagued by some bad defense. Cavalli in the bottom of the 3rd allowed 2 runs on 2 singles, a walk, and a fielding error by shortstop Nasim Nunez, who on a 1-out first pitch routine grounder by Otto Lopez with runners at the corners completely whiffed in attempting to field the grounder, which should have resulted in an inning-ending 6-4-3 double play, a run scored on the play. And the second of the two singles in the bottom of the third was a one-out first-pitch RBI single by Liam Hicks to right field on a line drive that got past first baseman Luis Garcia Jr., who was lunging and who, per analyst Kevin Franzen on the NBC Universal telecast of the game, was late to get ready for the play. Good for Franzen, who, of course, is the analyst for Nats telecast on Nationals.tv, being so honest. But Cade Cavalli overall had a nice outing, a good bounce back from his previous outing. Cavalli in the Nats' 11-3 loss to the Minnesota Twins at Nationals Park this past Tuesday evening, 6 runs, 3 earned in 4 innings. You look at where he stands now in this regular season, 9 games, all starts, ERA of 4.02, whip of 1.59. The Nats' relief pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games at the Marlins over the weekend was mixed, although we're really talking about 2 bad outings that marred the overall performance by the Nats bullpen in the series. Of the 3-2 win at the Marlins on Friday night, 2 Nats relievers combined for 2 scoreless innings, but what should have been the case was 1 Nats reliever tossing 2 scoreless innings. Brad Lord tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. He should have gotten the save, but shortstop C.J. Abrams committed a throwing error on a routine grounder with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. That prompted Blake Butera to bring P.J. Poulin into the game. He faced 2 batters, got 1 out for the save, came into the game. Bottom of the 9th, runner on first, 2 outs. Nats up 3-2. Poulin, to the first batter he faced, issued a 2-out walk, but that induced a fielder's choice ground out to end the game. But Poulin, the next day, was not used as the Nats opener, presumably because he had pitched on Friday night when he wouldn't have pitched had Abrams not committed that throwing error. So there are consequences to bad defense beyond just the obvious consequences. So the 8-7 loss at the Marlins on Saturday, the Nats used 2 relief pitchers beyond opener Richard Lovelady and bulkman Zach Littell. Mitchell Parker really struggled. He officially allowed 5 runs in 1 inning. He gave up 5 hits, which were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and a single. He issued a walk into wild pitch. He recorded 1 strikeout, and Zach Kent officially tossed a scoreless inning. And the 5-2 loss at the Marlins on Sunday afternoon, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 2 1/3 innings, but 3 of the relievers did well. P.J. Poulin faced 1 batter, got 1 out, but it was a big out. He got Joe Mack to ground out with runners at the corners, 2 outs, and the game tied at 2 in the bottom of the 6th. Orlando Revolta tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th. The guy who struggled was Gus Varland, 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. He struggled big time in a 3-run 8th for the Marlins. Varland issued a 1-out, 8-pitch walk of Kyle Stowers, despite having had him down in the count at 1.02. Issued a 1-out, 4-pitch walk of Jacob Marcy. Gave up a 1-out RBI single by Christopher Morel to center field on an 0-2 pitch for a 3-2 Marlins lead. And gave up a 1-out, 2-run single by Heriberto Hernandez to left field for a 5-2 Marlins lead, despite having had him down in the count at 1.12. And also in the inning was the Marlins pulling off 2 double steals on Varland and catcher Drew Millis, and Paxton Schultz faced 2 batters and got 2 outs. And also regarding Nats relievers, the Nats on Sunday afternoon announced that the Philadelphia Phillies have claimed relief pitcher Jackson Rutledge off outright waivers. So the Nats this past Tuesday night announced having designated Rutledge for assignment, so he now is gone from the organization. The Nats took Rutledge with the number 17 overall pick in the 2019 MLB first-year player draft. Took him out of San Jacinto College, a public community college in Texas. He was drafted as a starting pitcher, struggled as a starting pitcher, struggled as a relief pitcher, and now he is gone from the Nats. A whiff of a first-round pick. No game for the Nats on Monday. Next up for them is a 3-game series at the Cincinnati Reds. The Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Tuesday evening at 6:40, Miles Michaelis. Game 2 Wednesday evening at 6:40, Jake Irvin. Game 3 Thursday afternoon at 12:40, Foster Griffin.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
The Baltimore Orioles have lost 8 of their last 11 games, and while the O's on Sunday afternoon did win to avoid a 3-game sweep, They have become one of the most disappointing teams in MLB. The O's over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the Athletics at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Friday night, a 4-3 loss to the A's. Saturday, a 6-2 loss to the A's. Sunday afternoon, a 2-1 win over the A's. The O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 18-23 with an American League worst run differential of minus 41. The A's in this regular season are 21-19, better than you may think. By the way, the Athletics, they for a second consecutive season are just the Athletics, or the A's. The team for these last 2 seasons has no official state or city. The team is just the Athletics or the A's. The team was the Philadelphia Athletics for the 1901 through 1954 seasons, was the Kansas City Athletics for the 1955 through 1967 seasons, was the Oakland Athletics for the 1968 through 2024 seasons. The team eventually will be, we believe, the Las Vegas Athletics, but the team for now is just the Athletics. So the A's are playing the majority of their regular season home games at Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento, California. Also, the O's, via some clever marketing, drew more than 30,000 fans for each of the first 2 games of this series against a team in the A's that isn't exactly a big-time draw. The Orioles' 4-3 loss to the Athletics on Friday night happened on what was Tupac bobblehead night, as the O's gave away bobbleheads of legendary rapper and actor Tupac Shakur, who actually lived in Baltimore from 1984 to 1988. He attended Baltimore School for the Arts, BSA, in studying acting and poetry. His sister, Sechua Set Shakur, threw out the ceremonial first pitch. Official attendance for the game was 39,311. I tell you, it's amazing. Tupac was murdered in September 1996, 30 years ago this September, and yet he still resonates big time today. He was just 25 when he was murdered. The Orioles' 6-2 loss to the Athletics on Saturday. It was after the game that Nelly performed a post-game concert as a part of the Orioles' Birdland Summer Music Series. Official attendance for that game, 30,707, and the 2-1 win over the Athletics on Sunday afternoon. Official attendance for that game on Mother's Day, 24,213. But yeah, the O's are just 18-23. Let's not lose sight of that. They, in losing 2 out of 3 games against the Athletics at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend, totaled a mere 7 runs. You know, the O's are lucky that they didn't get swept. The 4-3 loss to the Athletics on Friday night, the O's just 3 runs, just 4 hits, which were 2 home runs and 2 singles, just 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The O's did draw 4 walks. The 6-2 loss to the Athletics on Saturday, the O's just 2 runs, despite totaling 9 hits and 4 walks. So the O's went just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position and struck out 11 times. So the 9 hits were comprised of 3 doubles and 6 singles. And the 2-1 win over the Athletics on Sunday afternoon, the O's scored just 2 runs and total just 6 hits, which were made up of 2 doubles and 4 singles. So but the O's worked 5 walks and went 3 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Orioles' 3 probable starting pitchers for this series were the Killer Bees, as in 3 starting pitchers, each of whom has a last name that starts with the letter B, and each of whom, so far in this regular season, has been a big-time disappointment. So these guys have been killing the O's, literally the Killer Bees. Talking about Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz, and Chris Bassett. But I am happy to say that Bradish and Bassett did well. The 4-3 loss to the Athletics on Friday night, Kyle Bradish had a much-needed good outing. He allowed 3 runs in 7 innings with 10 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up 5 hits, which were a triple and 4 singles. He issued a hit by pitch. He threw 96 pitches, 60 strikes versus 36 balls. Really good to see Bradish have a good outing. Kyle Bradish now for this regular season, 8 games, all starts. ERA of 4.83, whip of 1.66. Those stats are ugly, but his strikeouts per 9 innings now is up to 9.88. Speaking of ugly stats, the 6-2 loss to the Athletics on Saturday, Shane Baz had another disappointing outing. He allowed 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings. He gave up 5 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 2 singles. He issued 3 walks. He did record 5 strikeouts. He threw 100 pitches, 62 strikes versus 38 balls. But Shane Baz now for this regular season, 8 games, all starts, ERA of 5.48, whip of 1.56. 5-6, and the 2-1 win over the Athletics on Sunday afternoon. The O's went with an opener, who was relief pitcher Keegan Aiken. He tossed a perfect top of the first with 2 swinging strikeouts. The starting pitcher Chris Bassett then came into the game to serve as the Orioles' bulk pitcher, and he was really good. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles. Threw a lot of strikes, 94 pitches, 66 strikes, just 28 balls. Did commit a fielding error, but Bassett really needed an outing like this. He, for this regular season, now 8 games, including 7 starts, ERA of 5.21, whip of 1.74. The Orioles relief pitching, and the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Athletics at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend was good. The 4-3 loss to the Athletics on Friday night. The O's used just 1 reliever, who was Trey Gibson. He allowed 1 run in 2 innings. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having recalled Gibson from AAA Norfolk, and that move was in response to the O's putting yet another player on an injured list, as the O's are in the midst of a 3rd consecutive season in which the team is being walloped by injury. But the O's on Friday afternoon announced having placed starting pitcher Cade Povich on the 15-day injured list due to left elbow inflammation. The 6-2 loss to the Athletics on Saturday. 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 1/3 innings. Lou Trevino tossed 2 1/3 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts, but the O's on Sunday morning announced having designated Trevino for assignment. Dietrich Enns tossed a scoreless top of the 8th, despite giving up 2 singles. Andrew Kittredge allowed a run in the top of the 9th, in which he gave up 2 singles and issued a walk. And the 2-1 win over the Athletics on Sunday afternoon. The O's used 2 relievers beyond opener Keegan Aiken and bulk man Chris Bassett. Anthony Nunez tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 8th, despite issuing 2 walks into wild pitch. And Rico Garcia tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 9th. The Orioles relief pitching in this series was good. Also regarding the Orioles relief pitching, the team on Sunday morning announced having recalled reliever Jose Espada from AAA Norfolk. Next up for the O's is the 3-game series against the New York Yankees at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Now, the O's have not yet announced their probable starting pitchers for the series, though the expectation is that Brandon Young will be the team's starting pitcher for Game 1, and the hope is that Trevor Rogers will come off the 15-day injured list and be the Orioles starting pitcher in a game in this series. The O's on April 29th announced having put Rogers on the 15-day injured list retroactive to April 26th due to illness, but there's 3-game series against the Yankees at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 1, Monday evening at 6:35. Game 2, Tuesday evening at 6:35. Game 3, Wednesday evening at 6:35. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1323, we'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Baltimore Orioles. The O's are home to the New York Yankees Monday evening at 6:35 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Picking second will be the Utah Jazz, and that means that the number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA Draft goes to the Washington Wizards.